back like we never left. It's Double Move Sports. As always, I'm Stef Albiero. I'm here with the fantasy phenom, Alex Lott, the man, the myth, the legend, talking with us today about guys that we need to acquire right now in our redraft leagues. And whether it's PPR, half-point PPR, standard, fantasy is just a fun time right now. And these guys are players that you can go and give you an opportunity to turn a good team to a great team because they're not being appropriately valued right now. So these are guys that, look, there's no guarantee that the guy who has them in your fantasy league is going to feel the way that we feel about a player, but we're trying to read the room, get a feel for consensus based on the conversations we're having in our Discord channel, what we're seeing in our leagues, guys airing out their frustration with some of these players, and guys that have juicy schedules, great situations that are changing. We're going to break it down here. We've got a number of wide receivers, running backs, and even a little QB sprinkled in there at the very end. Tight end, you can't. You just can't buy low. But Alex, let's get into this. I'm too hyped right now if you can't tell.
Before we do jump in, Steph, I just want to say one more thing. The list we have today, we're getting into 5 or 6. Sounds like maybe 7. There was a couple guys Steph wanted to throw on here that I didn't agree with. We'll see if he sprinkles them in at the end. But we're getting into some sneakier trade targets, some sneakier buy low names. There's some more obvious ones out there. And these guys, not all of them you're going to necessarily be able to go out and acquire dirt cheap. But they're names that Steph and I essentially just feel like their value is higher than the normal fantasy football player is valuing them right now. And that's what makes them a great sneaky trade target, a sneaky buy low. And with that, Steph, let's go ahead and jump into the first name here, who honestly, I was surprised to see you throw this name on our list. You brought this one to the table, but it was absolutely fantastic. It's Diontae Johnson. And the reason he's a sneaky trade target, a sneaky buy low, isn't because of a lack of production. It's more because Diontae Johnson's name value isn't in the same tier as these other top 10, top 12 wide receivers, when in reality, I think the upside could be there, especially on the Steelers offense this season that struggled. Diontae Johnson has been a sneaky and a secret diamond in the rough. So, Steph, tell me a little bit more about Diontae Johnson, because I'm actually all in with you on trying to acquire him as we move into week 8.
You look over in a fantasy points per game, Diontae Johnson is a wide receiver 1. I don't think a lot of people have let that sink in because you're just saying, oh, Big Ben sucks, he's washed, Juju sucks, Diontae had drops last year, whatever narratives you're going to make up. But you look at Diontae.
He missed a game too. He missed a game this year in week 3.
And he's coming off the bye week, so I think right now makes him even extra sneaky. Before the bye week, didn't have any of those 20-plus point outings, didn't score a touchdown in week 6 against the Seahawks. And now you look into a stretch with Cleveland, Detroit, the Chargers, Cincinnati, Baltimore, Minnesota. Great schedule coming up after maybe a rough week here or there, which could keep Diontae Johnson as a potential buy low for a long period of time. But what you can't ignore is the fact that Diontae Johnson, and especially now with Juju Smith-Schuster gone the rest of the season, already seeing a 28.6% target share, which is 7th in the NFL. I expect that to even go up. I don't see Najee Harris sustaining 15 targets a game consistently. Some weeks, Diontae Johnson's just going to have his corner beat, and Big Ben's going to feed him. And even if those aren't super deep targets, we know what Diontae can do after the catch. And he's seeing a 20% red zone target share as well. So, we always thought with Juju, he did seem to score a lot of touchdowns. I think a lot of that production, that point scoring, can be shifted over to Diontae Johnson now. And on top of that, I will say, even though Big Ben is seeing that Drew Brees type decline, that Phillip Rivers arm strength decline right now, still seeing 11 deep targets on the season. That is 11th amongst all wide receivers. So I love everything that Diontae Johnson's doing. People just see him kind of like where they got him in drafts. It's like a mid to low end wide receiver 2. And then they just see how bad the Steelers are playing right now. But then you look over Diontae Johnson, 10 targets a game, putting up numbers. You got to go acquire him.
Yeah, the volume's just there. He truly is the alpha wide receiver 1 for Pittsburgh. Before the season, it's like, oh, they got Diontae, Claypool, Juju. No, like they all have had their roles. I mean, Juju was the short guy, short yardage guy. Claypool was the field stretcher, and Diontae was that true alpha wide receiver, kind of doing it all and having that mind meld with Ben Roethlisberger. Now with Juju going, you're right, more targets are going to be funneled Diontae Johnson's way. And the volume's just fantastic. The efficiency this year has been fantastic. A 68% catch rate so far this year, still over 11 yards per catch. In this Ben Roethlisberger world where he's having trouble pushing it beyond the line of scrimmage. Good to hear that the deep targets are there as well, Steph. I hadn't heard that stat before. But yeah, Diontae should be in the conversation with other names in that range. Like Diontae Johnson or CeeDee Lamb, to me, is a tough question, honestly. Like Diontae Johnson or Keenan Allen is tougher than it should be. So he should be in that conversation. Up to you whether you'd rather have him than those guys. But I can guarantee you this, most leagues, most people who are rostering Diontae don't value him that way. So I would go see what you can do, see if you can pick him up and lock him in for the rest of the season. You said it, he's past his bye. He's going to be healthy now for the rest of the year. Hope, at least from the injury he sustained earlier, fingers crossed it can stay that way. But Diontae is an absolute lock every single week with upside as well.
Now, you mentioned the next guy here who is in our buy lows, alluded to him earlier on the week when talking about our top 12 running backs. If you want to see us break that down, go check out the channel. Again, a like and a sub, greatly appreciated if you're rocking with us on YouTube. But with Keenan Allen, the biggest thing for him, it's not the volume. Like, none of that's changed. He's still 11th in the NFL in targets with 9.7 per game, still at 6.5 receptions per game, which is 11th in the league. The volume's there at 24.6% target share. He's getting his normal 25% that you expect to see. The Chargers are throwing the ball a ton, 3rd in pass plays per game right now, 8th in red zone targets right now with 10 total red zone targets. You look at that red zone target share, and then you look over and Keenan Allen only has 1 touchdown. So that's the only problem that I see with Keenan Allen at the moment. You add 3 or 4 touchdowns into that mix. Mike Williams certainly can't score all of them. And yeah, it's hurts to see Allen not getting those 16 target games, but he's still getting enough where he can be productive. And he hasn't even passed 20 fantasy points in PPR leagues yet. He's now past his bye week, has some good matchups in his future. I like where things are going for Keenan Allen. I think not only is he going to give you the high floor, he has a ceiling, but people just aren't feeling it if they drafted him in the early 3rd round in redraft.
Yeah, a lot of people are disappointed with Keenan, and I still value him. Ooh, this is tough, but I would still take Keenan Allen above Mike Williams. Just because of the extended sample size we have for Keenan. Look, I think Mike Williams is legit. I think he's the real deal. But I also believe Justin Herbert and this Chargers offense can support 2 top 12, top 15 wide receivers in these PPR formats. You look at Keenan so far this year, I mean, you hit the nail on the head. The only thing that's changed for him is the touchdowns. The targets are still there. The catch rate is still solid. The yards per catch is kind of in line with what it's been for the rest of his career. And he only does have the 1 touchdown where Mike Williams, you look over and he has 6, so far through 6 games. So Keenan Allen, I do expect to get on track. He's still giving you a great floor. He's gotten 10 or more PPR fantasy points in every single game. So if he's someone you can put in your lineup with confidence and he's not going to bust for you on any given week, and those upside weeks are going to come, I truly believe they will as we move into the rest of the season. I think he is a perfect buy low candidate right now. Keenan Allen is still someone I am trusting as a top 12, at worst top 15 guy for the rest of the season. And right now, coming in at PPR wide receiver 30, like, he's someone you can absolutely buy low on because people are disappointed from what their expectation was coming out of the draft.
He's also coming off his worst game of the year. The efficiency was still there, though. 5 for 5 for 50 yards. It was 5.55 all the way for Keenan Allen in Week 6 against Baltimore. Should be another reason that you can go out and buy him. And if it's a 10-point floor, you're happy with that, especially with bye-apocalypse, injuries, especially in 14-team leagues. Let's talk about a guy that, Alex, you found on your roster all season long. We've been talking about him time and time again. Almost every week it feels like now in some deal or another. Courtland Sutton, who to me is a reliable wide receiver 2 rest of season. And I think for some people who are in tune with what's happening across the league, they know Jerry Jeudy is coming back. He is playing in Week 8 of the NFL season. So people see, Jerry Jeudy coming back. He was doing big things before he got hurt with the high ankle sprain. Certainly Sutton is gonna regress in some way. But I don't know if that's necessarily true. We know high ankle sprains are difficult to come back from. We've seen Saquon Barkley come back from them, Alvin Kamara come back from them, Leonard Fournette coming back from one last year. High ankle sprains take a long time for players to fully heal from, even though they may be on the field, just not quite as explosive as they typically are, not able to make the cuts that they need to. So I'm not quite as bullish on Jerry Jeudy as some are, thinking he's just going to slot back into 11 targets and 100 yards a game, because Courtland Sutton has stepped up. And I had Sutton over Jeudy before the season just because I like his profile as an outside, big body X receiver, whereas Jeudy can play more of a flanker role. You can line him up in the slot. But Courtland Sutton's leading all wide receivers in air yards per game by a significant 20-yard margin. He's shown enough that he can command double-digit targets. He's done that in years past when it was Drew Lock leading the offense. And Sutton only has 2 touchdowns right now. So I expect regression from Sutton in the best way on an offense that can finally, I'm not going to say they're like good or even great or anything like that, but like it's a solid Broncos offense. Teddy Bridgewater gives them stability. He can move the ball downfield. He can get the ball into Courtland Sutton's hands for him to put up fantasy points. And what I believe is a consistent basis. So I'm buying Sutton right now, especially if the owner is a little bit worried with Jeudy coming back.
Absolutely. And the reason Sutton's on this list, even though he is the PPR wide receiver 17 so far and kind of outperformed expectations in some ways, is because he is a sneaky buy low trade target. You said it, because of the Jerry Jeudy return. And I know there will be a lot of people out there that are a little bit freaked out about Jeudy coming back, and they're going to think they're being sneaky, selling Courtland Sutton. But I truly do believe that the Courtland Sutton you have seen through the first 7 weeks of the season is the Courtland Sutton you're going to get for the rest of the season, even with Jerry Jeudy coming back. Because Noah Fant this year, 7 targets per game. Tim Patrick, almost 6 targets per game. So, like, those numbers aren't crazy, but I think Jeudy does come back and eat into their workload a little bit as well. We saw KJ Hamler go down. He's out for the season now. So the Broncos do just need pass-catching options out there on the field. So maybe we see Sutton's volume, suppressed by like 5-10%, but I really don't think it's going to be significant enough to hinder his weekly and his season-long upside. And the other thing with this Denver team, one reason you and I were confident in Jeudy and Sutton before the season, but a little bit hesitant, was because of the strong defense. They had like a top 5 unit for the D-line, the linebackers, and the secondary. The secondary has still been good. The D-line has been pretty good, but the linebackers have been absolutely ravaged by injuries. Now we're seeing some D-linemen go down. Von Miller got a little shaken up in that game last Thursday. So the defense, unfortunately, because of injuries, has gotten weaker since they were at the beginning of the season. The expectations we had for them coming in. And when you look at this Broncos team for the rest of the season, the schedule becomes very conducive to pass-heavy game scripts. You look at the games. Washington, Dallas, they have the Chargers, the Chiefs, the Bengals, the Raiders, and then the Chargers and the Chiefs again. So they're going to be in a lot of these games where they're trailing, and Teddy Bridgewater is throwing more pass attempts than they probably would like him to, but that's just going to be the nature of the game. So when I think about Sutton and the rest of the season, I think there will be enough targets, and I definitely believe in the talent and his ability to get it done. So if you can buy him now as that solid lock-it-in wide receiver 2 for someone who thinks they need to get out of the Sutton business before Jeudy comes back, I'd be looking to make those offers this week. But Steph, let's talk about another wide receiver, last wide receiver we're going to hit on in today's episode. It's T. Higgins. T. Higgins, also known as the shadow of Jamar Chase in this Bengals offense. Coming in, it was very, very tough between how are the targets going to break down? Who's going to be the clear 1? Who's going to be the clear 2? Is it going to be a 1A, 1B? We have our answer now heading into week 8 that Jamar Chase is the alpha, is going to be the alpha, and honestly might be a top 5 wide receiver in the NFL already. I don't want to be too hyperbolic here, but Jamar Chase absolutely looks every bit of the real deal, and I don't expect him to slow down anytime soon. But I think that's why T. Higgins makes this list as a sneaky buy low, because I still believe in the talent of T. Higgins. And if we look at the targets for Higgins this season, he had 15 targets last week. He has 8.5 targets per game this season. So the volume is still there in this Bengals offense. And T. Higgins is someone I'm absolutely looking to buy right now. I expect the efficiency to go up as we look forward, and project week 8 and beyond. Steph, what do you think about T. Higgins? And honestly, just give me your thoughts on this Bengals offense, man. It has absolutely exceeded all expectations so far.
It's weird, too, because from a pass attempt standpoint, the Bengals aren't even throwing the ball that much. And that's a reason why I believe T. Higgins is a buy low. I think the Bengals offense will open up as the season goes on, because you look at Joe Burrow's pass attempts starting the year at 27 pass attempts. That's brutally low. That's Ryan Tannehill type pass volume. And that was in a shootout with Minnesota. Doesn't pass 30 pass attempts in a game until week 4. And then since then, 32 against Jacksonville, 38 against Green Bay, and that shootout that went into overtime where the kickers missed like 3 kicks in a row. And then you look at week 7 against Baltimore, 38 pass attempts. I think there's regression in the best way coming for this Bengals passing game, and I think T. Higgins is going to eat. A lot of people just kind of forgot about him for this year because he's been banged up and missed some time. Jamar Chase has looked dominant, but the target volume that T. Higgins is going to get, 15 targets last week.
It's so weird because the offense is looking great. They're 7th in the NFL in scoring. I think something that surprised us about the Bengals is that the defense has been better than expected, and they're in these game scripts where they're leading, where the expectation was like, oh, their defense isn't going to be that great, and they're going to be passing, playing from behind, and seeing if their offense can keep up. I think some of that is...
That actually happened to us with Cincinnati and with Dallas. We thought they were going to be in shootouts all season long.
Absolutely, but I have to think some of that is going to come for the Bengals. I think they are certainly a playoff contender. Right now, they're the number 1 seed in the AFC.
Wow.
But with T. Higgins specifically, I expect the efficiency to rise. Right now, his yards per catch and his catch rate is lower than it was as a rookie. And that was with Brandon Allen and Ryan Finley at quarterback for a good part of the season. He was a rookie getting ramped up. He didn't have Jamar Chase helping pull coverage away. So I think T. Higgins is going to get it going. It's just taken him some time this season. He did have the injury that he battled there for a couple of weeks. And I think what we're going to see from T. Higgins is what we saw from Fournette earlier in the year. Fournette in the first couple weeks was seeing the volume, but the fantasy football production didn't necessarily catch up yet because he wasn't getting into the end zone. Things just weren't breaking his way. The game scripts weren't right. And then all of a sudden, in a good offense, we saw Lenny start to get the red zone carries. We saw the game scripts favor him, and he was getting 20 carries in some of these games. And I think for T. Higgins, the volume we're seeing is finally going to start to lead to some production moving forward. So right now is the time to buy T. Higgins. He is certainly a great flex name. And honestly, I'd have him in my top 24 wide receivers the rest of the way.
Love it. Love it. Now let's talk about some running backs. Let's start off with talking about rookie Michael Carter with the New York Jets. I think he's a buy low right now because a lot of people are seeing this Jets offense slowly tank. I mean, they're going out and signing Joe Flacco thanks to Zach Wilson's injury. But the one rising piece, the one guy that actually produced for fantasy, I plugged him into a lineup where I still won High Point with Najee Harris on his bye week. Felt great plugging Carter in with Swift and seeing that running back production still be there in this bye-apocalypse. But Michael Carter is still ascending while the Jets are falling apart. He didn't have a ton of hype coming out of the draft either. You have Ty Johnson, questionable. The best is yet to come for Michael Carter, who's now seen 3 targets or more since week 2. Saw 9 targets against New England when they got absolutely beat into a pulp. But it's almost the same situation to a degree of James Robinson and DeAndre Swift, these guys that are on horrible offenses, but they're a check-down running back. Michael Carter is a smaller, much lesser version of that, but a guy that I think can be a low-end RB2 rest of the way. Rookie running backs tend to get ramped up as the season goes on, so I think we could be seeing some of that from Carter as well, regardless of the QB spot. Alex, are you with me on Michael Carter as a guy that you can buy low?
I am. I mean, he has put up double-digit PPR points in 3 straight games. So, like, if someone has Michael Carter, maybe they're just trying to get out because it is the New York Jets, and now Zach Wilson is out, and it's going to look disgusting. So I totally agree with you there. But Carter, you just have to know if you're going to acquire him. He's not someone that necessarily has the upside because this offense, I don't think, is really going anywhere for the rest of the season. But to your point, if you want that high floor, if you want that third running back on your roster that you can play during bye weeks, you can play if guys are hurt and better looking matchups, maybe even sneak them into the flex. I think Michael Carter is a perfect name for that. We are seeing the snaps start to ramp up. We are seeing the other guys in the backfield start to get a little bit banged up with injuries as well. So if we start to see Carter see a consistent 10 to 12 carries and 5 targets, I mean, that's the same volume we were talking about for Austin Eckler. Obviously, it's not the same. He's not the same player. It's not the same offense. But it's volume that you definitely like in these PPR leagues. But with Carter, you just have to understand he's probably not going to have that league-winning type of upside, but he certainly can help you get there as your RB3 on your roster.
And we've talked about guys early in the year like Darrell Henderson who do have that league-winning upside, so keep rocking with us on the channel. Mm-hmm. It is hard to buy low at the running back position because running backs are so coveted, especially as we get, again, into buys and injuries. It's like almost every running back you have to pay a premium for right now, especially if they produced at all in the last 2 games. Like, you can't buy low on a Joe Mixon. You just can't. You can't buy low on even a Christian McCaffrey because people are so excited for him to return. So with a lot of these running backs, they're either hurt and you can't touch them. People know what they have in them and you can't touch them. And so that's why we're going a little bit deeper with these names. Michael Carter was the first one. The second one is Zack Moss. And Alex, I know you disagree.
I didn't approve this.
I know you disagree with this one, but if you're in these deep leagues, if you need a running back, an RB2, you just need something at the running back position. Zack Moss, I think, is a fine option. I don't think he should be out there on waivers in most leagues because right now he's handling a 55% snap share at minimum. So somehow after an inactive in week 1,
that's wild.
He's now the 1A again in Buffalo. But regardless, he's seeing a large percentage of the snaps in some of these game scripts, 74% against Kansas City. He's seeing that 3 targets per game that we're talking about with Michael Carter and other guys that were in our top 12 are seeing just over that volume. So he's getting a couple targets here and there. He's top 10 in red zone touches on a electric Buffalo Bills offense. He has 4 touchdowns in 5 games. And this is a Bills offense that's second in points per game and 6th in yards per game. So just from a situational standpoint, and this is the only reason you want, and probably why you even drafted, if you did, Moss or Singletary, is just because you want the RB1 in Buffalo. That's what Zack Moss is. Is it what we want him to be from a fantasy standpoint? Do we believe there's more upside there that he's probably never going to reach? I believe so, but I think he is still a guy that's a sneaky buy low right now if he's sitting on somebody's bench, and you need a running back to fill in if you're stretching it out to start Kenny Gainwell or somebody like that off the waivers.
Yeah, to me, I mean, Zack Moss isn't someone I really want on my roster unless Devin Singletary were to go down or to miss time. So, look, that's what we're about on the show. Like, we don't just bring these takes and say we agree on them just to sit around the campfire and sing Kumbaya. Like, I told Stef to take this one off the list. He felt strongly about it, and he put his take out there and honestly made some pretty good points. So, like, for me personally, I'll pass on Zack Moss. But look, if you are desperate for these running backs, I could see the avenue for Moss. He is a plug-in type of name. And you're right. If the touchdowns remain consistent, if the receiving workload remains consistent, and who knows, maybe you start to get deeper into the season and Singletary misses time, Zack Moss could end up exceeding that upside. So I understand the narrative. I'm out on Moss, but look, if people in your league are dumping him, maybe someone did drop him to the waiver wire for some reason on his bye week. I get why you could imagine stashing Moss on your bench for now.
Now, last one I'll throw out there. I said I was going to sprinkle in a quarterback, a guy that I do believe is a buy low in streaming leagues. If you need to go out and just plug in a guy for this week, I like Kirk Cousins. He might be out there because with Kirk Cousins and the Minnesota Vikings, their defense is still not where they want it to be. We thought that going out and signing all these splash free agents from Patrick Peterson to Dalvin Tomlinson, Nick Vigil, we thought things were going to turn around with the Vikings defense. It's not. They're still going to be in these shootout game scripts every week. And we saw last year what Kirk Cousins was able to do. Finishing 11th at the QB position with 20 fantasy points per game. You'll take that all day if you didn't draft one of these top 6 studs, these mobile QBs. You'll take Kirk Cousins all day long. Was top 10 last year in accuracy rating, top 3 in yards per attempt. Like, the air yards were there. He has weapons in Jefferson, Thielen. You and I have talked about some of the other pieces like Conklin and Irv Smith, guys like that. KJ Osborne's becoming a thing at times. And then, of course, Dalvin Cook can carry this offense. So Kirk Cousins, a great cerebral pocket passer that can air the ball out, that has weapons and should be in the right game script. He's a guy that I think you can either buy low if you need a quarterback and he's not out there on the waiver wire, or a guy you definitely need to pick up and stash if you're not locked and loaded with a stud.
Yeah, I like the Cousins pick. I mean, he's back and he's doing it. And you're right. It all comes down to the defense for Minnesota when they can't run this ground and pound offense and give Dalvin Cook 30 carries a game because they're winning. Kirk Cousins, we see what he can do. And with Justin Jefferson, with Thielen, fantastic guy to roll out there, especially.
A 27-point week against a great Carolina defense. Now coming off the bye, I'm all in on Captain Kirk.
Yeah, you can absolutely roll him out there. But Steph, one more thing to add before we sign off. Very, very important. I get it. We're talking about a lot of players on today's podcast. Sometimes your league might not be that active. Sometimes the managers you're dealing with might not want to trade certain guys that you really want to roster, you really want to cheer for. Luckily, you can do that with FanDuel, who I have to plug here before we sign off, the absolute best platform in daily fantasy sports. The great thing about FanDuel, you get whichever players you want every single week. I got my boys on the Colts that I love throwing into my lineups, and you get to draft a new team, whoever you want, based on matchup. You can do some stacks with quarterbacks and wide receivers. It's a ton of fun to put different pieces together and see if you can stay under that salary cap. That's all you got to do. Build the all-star lineup, stay under the cap, and watch yourself win some cash. And for the Sunday full slate contests, it's pretty standard. I mean, you draft a quarterback, 2 running backs, 3 wide receivers, a tight end, a flex, a defense. And you just watch the points pile up, watch the money roll in. And right now, with the link in the description, you will receive a 20% match on your deposit, up to $500 matched. So what that means is if you deposit $25, you'll get $5 for free. And that $5 can get you an entry to the Sunday Million, where the winner takes home a 6-figure cash prize. So don't miss out on FanDuel. It's an absolute blast. We're talking about it in our Discord as well. And if you're on mobile, be sure to continue on the web when you're signing up. So download that FanDuel app now and make sports even more exciting. Make fantasy football even more exciting starting today.
Gotta do those stacks. And love talking about them with you guys in that Discord. That link is free and it's in the description. Join the conversation with us. As always, we appreciate y'all listening and watching, and we'll see y'all next time. Peace.